screen. I'm just going to share with you what I like. So Alexandra actually hit on this yesterday. She said you have to get into your story and you have to get into that story quick. And that's what we're talking about here is these 10 pages and the 5 rules that you need to hit before you get to page 11. If you don't do this, there are some high chances that your script won't even get past page 10. It just won't. Because as producers, they'll toss it away. They'll move on to the next script. So let's talk about the first one. You need to establish the tone and the genre of your film. Is it going to be a comedy? Is it fantasy, spoof, thriller, biblical, whatever it is? You have to get into this story and start establishing that right off the bat. Right off the bat. Don't give us page 25 and we still don't know that you're trying to sell us a thriller. It don't work. You have to get in right away. Introduce the main character. I read a script maybe a month ago, and this is the honest truth. I was down inside page 30 and had no idea who the main character was. There were so many characters being introduced, and none of them were doing anything significant. None of them. I'm just going, I have no idea who this main character is. I just, throw a pen on the paper, and whichever's close to, that's who I'm going to call the main character. Get that main character introduced and do it in a way that there's something about him that you know he's flawed. There's something that gives you the audience that this is my main character. And this is the person that I want you rooting for the rest of the movie. Clarify the world of the story. Where is your story taking place? Is it in space like Martian and Interstellar? How many have seen The Martian? Where does it start off? Where does the movie The Martian start off? On Mars. Since we know we're dealing with a space movie, don't we? How much clearer can you get? You see how quick the writer jumped right into clarify the world of his or her story? Movie starts off on Mars. Big city, a small town. How about the movie Phone Booth? Right? Movie starts off with him walking into that phone booth. He spends the whole 90 minutes in the phone booth. Man, it really takes you really have to be a good writer, even if the movie wasn't great, to really keep your attention to somebody standing in a phone booth for 90 minutes. I personally didn't care much for the movie, but I applaud that writer. I just, brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. The same way with him in a car. Half this movie happens in the car. There's an Academy nominated. I think it maybe won an award or two. So you have to establish that genre right off the bat. Get that stuff inside the first 10 pages. The world of the story. Good versus evil. Is this a story about good or the story evil? So you take a look at movies like The Omen, even The Avenger, Lion King. Good versus evil movie. You had Scar, who wanted the kingdom, and Mufasa, who had the kingdom. Good versus evil. My favorite movie, The Outlaw Josie Wells. Best movie ever written. My personal opinion, but I think that's the best movie ever written. Man versus Nature. Here's some movies down here that's clear about what, is this movie about man versus nature. 127 Hours is a good example of that. Remember that movie, Rock Falls, traps the guy's arm. He spends the next 127 hours building up enough nerve to hack his arm. And if you haven't seen the movie, I just gave it all away. I'm sorry. You bought this on yourself. I told you you're going to have to put up with me for 90 minutes. I do stuff like this. I give away plots. My wife hates watching movies with me because I'll tell the whole story. I figure within 5 or 10 minutes, within 10 minutes, I'm going, oh, okay, I know what's going to happen now. So my wife and kids, they put a moratorium on me. How many movies they can watch with me a year. Then you have to set up the dramatic situation, guys, and this is what your movie is going to be about. You'll see it as the dramatic central question, or some will call it that dramatic central idea, whatever it's called. You have to tell us what this movie is going to be about. and it's a question. If X don't do Y, then what happens? And that what happens needs to be so dramatic that it sets up the tension for the rest of your meeting. This dramatic central question and this dramatic central idea, you have to do that. So yesterday, if you were sitting in here and you heard Alexandra say, you need to get into your story. This is why. This is why. You have to answer these 5 questions, because if you don't, chances are you may not get your script ready. So now I'm going to show you this. This is a script. I don't know how you can, I don't know if the pixels are going to allow you to see that. Can you see that? I'm going to give you 2 minutes to read that. Right there. Go. Just let me know when you're finished. If you're finished, just kind of raise your hand, let me know. Anybody still reading?
Yep.
Everybody done? Move on? Okay, so let's see. 2 pages of script, right? What's the tone? What's the genre? What do you think?
Action.
Action, what else?
Adventure.
Any other
Supernatural.
supernatural? Okay, biblical? Yeah. Thriller, action. So in those 2 pages, you've already picked up on what this genre and this tone of this movie is going to be about. How about the main character? Who's the main character?
Michael.
Bill.
Bill, right? Now we have a main character. And what's happening to Bill right now?
He's being beat up by Michael.
Michael's putting a whooping on him. Got his body shoved all down in the sand. So what are you starting to already feel for Bill?
Empathy.
Empathy. So you got to build that in there. And you build it in the action, in the writing. You, as writers, we have to write that so you get this visual image of these emotions you want to bring out. That's up to us to do that. So yeah, Bill Edge is the main character. Clarify the world of the story. Where is this happening right now?
The desert.
Desert. Where else was it happening?
The street.
City street. But it's happening where though? On what?
Earth.
Earth. Because you see the streaks flashing in the night sky. There's a couple different locations. And then what does Michael say? We're going to get there in a second. Clarify the world of the story. So, Desert City. Ooh, well, get that away. I told you I do stuff like this all the time. Guys don't believe me, I'm telling you. But it's a good versus evil type story, don't you think? You get the feel right off the bat. And what's the dramatic situation? What do you think's going on here? What's that? What do you think? What do you think is? You feel like could be getting ready to happen? What does Michael tell him? He says, "Brother, we could have fought again, once again, in a battle that I'm afraid can't be stopped," or something like that, right? A battle of what? What is Michael?
Angel.
So what do you think Bill is?
Evil?
No.
No.
No. What did he
Human.
say to Bill? He said brother. Why would he call him brother?
Another angel?
Because he's an angel also.
Mm.
You see that? You see what I'm saying? So you gotta, the dialogue will help you guys. You can use your dialogue to help you. So he says, he looks up and sees the streaks coming into the ground on earth. And he says it's in a battle that, what? He says, I'm afraid we can no longer stop or something like that. What kind of battle do angels fight?
Good versus evil.
Good against evil, right? And where is this battle getting ready to happen?
Earth.
So what happens if this battle happens on earth? A holy war on earth. Maybe all mankind is destroyed. 2 pages. And I gave you just about all 5 of those questions, didn't I? That's a story I'm writing right now for a studio. That's the first 2 pages, and you already have a pretty good idea. So now I have 88 pages. I can just throw all kinds of good stuff in there because I've gotten my 5 questions out of the way.
Mm.
That's how you have to write this stuff, guys. Don't be afraid to figure out ways to condense your writing in a way that you can answer these questions in the first 2-3 pages. And it's up to you as writers to do that. It's up to us as writers to do that. So, here's some reasons why, as producers, your scripts won't be read. And I entered a contest years ago. I mentioned that at the panel. Years ago, I entered this contest with a script. And because I was one of the finalists, I got a chance to, all the finalists got to go in after the contest, and you sat with the judges, and they tell you about, and give you notes and things of that nature. So it was like a little mixture. So I walked over to a handful of the judges, and I was more or less curious on what they used to discriminate or break down why they didn't look at scripts. So I wanted to learn that. So I went over and started asking questions. This is what they told me. These are the things that they say they do when they get scripts, because they get so many. You have to think now, a producer will get 30, 40, 50 scripts a weekend they have to go read. Some of them more than that. They have people that read them for them. They don't always read them. But if you work for a producer and you're one of the producer's aides, and now you think you're going home for the weekend to go out and party, and your boss comes up and drops 30 scripts on your desk and says, I want a synopsis on each one of these that you think we can make into a movie. Guess what? You're going to find a way to discriminate through some of those scripts, so you don't have to sit there and read all of them. And this is what they told me. First thing is page count. And sadly, I must admit, I do this now too. I get scripts sent all the time. And I have to find a way to look to see which ones I think will be able to turn into a movie. Page count. Based on the genre of the movie, if your pages are over 100, I probably won't read it. Now, if you're sending me a Marvel action film, whole different story. Those 3-hour movies, we'll sit there and watch them all day. But a Christian drama, you're probably not going to put people in the seats for 3 hours on a Christian drama. It's just hard to do. Or any kind of drama. Most dramas, you want to be in that 90-page range. You know, just try to learn as a writer, how do you get your story told in those 90 to 95 pages. So first thing I do is I get a script, is I flip it to see how many pages. Because by then, if I'm getting it, you've already kind of told me what the genre is. You filled out our forms, we know. This is 105 pages, it's a drama. I don't even go any further than that. It's gone. You may have had the best story in the world, and I just threw it in it. I DX'd it, as we would say in the military, because I just don't want to read 105 pages. I just won't do it. Is it written properly? Meaning, did you use an industry standard software to write your story? Now, I'm not saying run out there and buy Final Draft. We know that's a little costly. But there are other softwares out there, Celtics and different ones that you can use. I think Studio Binder has one now. These are free or inexpensive.
Writer Duet.
Is also
Right, yeah. Use it.
Writer Duet also imports Final Draft.
There you go. See,
So does
they're out there.
Celtics.
I use Final Draft because I grew up on Final Draft. And that's what I use. But I'm not saying that it's the best. But whatever you get, make sure it's in. I'm not lying. This is a true story. This happened about 2 years ago. Lady sent me a box with her script. It had to have been 150, 200 pages, both sides handwritten.
Oh.
Now, it took everything in my power not to just strike a match and drop it in there. That's how much it scared me. And I politely wrote a neat little note and said, ma'am, I'm sure your work is great, but I just can't read this. Thanks for submitting. And I mailed it back. But that's what, Alexandra, she's seen, I know she has horror stories of her on submissions of scripts that you've seen. This stuff happens out there. it just happens. Don't send a word process script. Don't send a handwritten script. Take a few moments and learn how to operate industry standard piece of software like Gentleman Note, and write your script on that. Please do that. Because that, if I look at that, I'm just like, oh, this is a word process. I'm not reading this. Slug lines. As simple as this may sound, a slug line is really a good indication on the experience level of the writer. Because if the slug line is not right, so if you have exterior or interior church, green room, day. Now I know that I'm inside the church, I'm in the green room in this day. If that slug line is not properly formatted, then that's going to give me an indication on the experience of the writer. Something that simple. And I'm going to go, I'm done. I'm not reading it, the slug lines. I know what I'm getting into now. So now that's a Tymans pet peeve, the slug line. Some producers look over that stuff. And I do sometimes, but it is a pet peeve, one of the things I do. So if all of the first three are right, everything looks good, I'm going to only read your first 10 pages. And if you've answered those 5 rules in those first 10 pages, then I'm going to call you and tell you to send me the rest of your script. Because initially I'm only going to tell you to send me the first 10 pages. I'm not going to, you don't even send me the whole script. But if I can get past that and you've answered those 5 rules, then I'm going to call you and say, okay, yeah, send me your script, I'm interested. That's what those producers that night out in LA told me that they do. I've adopted some of that. I've heard other people have other things that they use. But just know that these small little simple things could cause your next Oscar-winning story to be tossed out and never read. And we don't call you back. That's the truth. We don't call you back and tell you whether your script was good, bad. Just, if you don't hear from a producer after you send them the script, assume they didn't like it or they didn't read it. Because they're not going to call you back. In most cases, some might, but I'm saying in most cases, they're just not going to call you back. Unless you're doing an actual coverage service where you pay for coverage and feedback. But if you send if you can get a producer to say, all right, let me see your script, I'll read it, or email me your script, and you never hear back from them again, assume they didn't like it or they just didn't read it. That's just it. You're lucky if you get a call back. All right, 3-act structure. And you guys keep me honest on time. I'm gonna kind of try to rush through these 20+ slides so we can have some Q&A in there. Don't try to reinvent this thing, man. Especially if you're starting. The only person that I've known, and I don't know, the only person in movies that I know that can violate this rule is Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Am I lying? If you know somebody else, tell me, because I want to go watch their movies. But this guy can violate the 3-act rule like no tomorrow, and it works. I'm not mad at him. I'm a bit envious, to be honest with you. I wish I could write like that. But if you don't know and you don't have the mind of a Quentin Tarantino, don't violate the 3-act structure. Keep it simple. Stay with the formula that works. Because the minute you start trying to violate and get fancy, you better be a Quentin Tarantino. And you may be. I'm not saying you're not. If you are, send me some of your work. I want to read it. Make sure it's good. So the 3-act structure, now this is kind of a breakdown on pages. This has 108 pages. Again, I would tell you that if you're writing a dramatic film, try to stay in the 90s, no more than 100 tops, okay? But let's take a look at these simple rules. Og sees mammoth, Og chase mammoth, Og kill mammoth. That's it, that's the story. How simple is that? You can get your whole story around that. Boy meets girl. How many movies you seen where boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back? Right? How many movies? I mean, you could, if I said write down 20 movies right now, you could all get together and give me 50 on that simple premise. Because cop catches bad guy gets away, cop re-catches bad guy. You have to, as a writer, break it down into very simple terms, just like that. Don't get carried away. We talked about the page count. The general rule, if you don't know it, the general rule is 1 page equals 1 minute on screen. That's the general rule. It goes left or right, it just depends on what's happening there. Don't waste paper space. Write only what your audience can see on the screen. This is one of my favorite parts here. Your audience don't know what they don't see. So don't waste paper space writing about things that the audience can't see on the screen. Can the audience tell right now if I have glasses in my pocket in my coat?
Mm-mm.
Then why write it? Why write that on the script that says Todd stands at the front of the room, his glasses is in his coat pocket, he has his wallet in his back pocket. The audience can't see that. Unless it's important for the glasses to be in my pocket, then you should write that Ty reaches into his pocket and pulls out his glasses, puts it on, and reads. Now you give me a purpose and showing the audience that I have an issue because I'm so old, I need glasses to see now. And if you do that, try to make that mean something later in your play, in your screenplay. Try to make that mean something. Maybe it's a life and death situation and not my glasses get stepped on, where you've already established early in the work that I need glasses to see. Now I'm trying to read the tiny code to end the nuclear destruction and I can't see it because I don't have my glasses. So if you cannot see it on the screen, don't write it. Don't write it. One of the things that I'm going to give away a movie today. So how many people have seen me give this diatribe before? How many people have seen me teach this class? You've seen, so you don't get to play today. But give me 3 people, any 3 that want to come up here and stand right up here. Any 3, come on.